में बजट सत्र के दूसरे चरण में प्रत्यक्ष कर से जुड़े विवाद निपटान का मौका देने से संबंधित प्रत्यक्ष कर विवाद से विश्वास बिल 2020 राज्यसभा में पास हो गया। इस योजना में तय समय में विवादित टैक्स राशि का भुगतान पर ब्याज और जुर्माने पर पूरी छूट का प्रावधान किया गया है। आइए देखते हैं राज्यसभा में विवाद से विश्वास योजना विधेयक 2020 पर चर्चा का सारांश।
Sir, this bill is basically says that solution to the disputed tax arrears. Under the pending disputes may be because of pending appeals filed in the income tax department and filed by the income tax department officials also and the taxpayers also. Sir, on the first dispute scenario, this bill says it has to pay 100% tax of the disputed tax by the taxpayer with the promised waiver of the attached penalty and interest. Sir, where the dispute relates to only interest, penalty or levy, the amount to be paid by the taxpayer is 25% of such demand with a promised waiver of balance 75% of the total amount. Sir, on the second dispute scenario, the solution envisaged in the bill is 50% of the disputed tax by the taxpayer with a promised waiver of the attached penalty on interest. Sir, for the dispute scenario, I wanted to explain to you that taxpayer is aggrieved person since the assessment order has been passed and he has to pay the tax determined as per the order. The taxpayer's first appellate authority is Commissioner Appeals. The Commissioner Appeals, who is part of the department, as per the existing norms, sir, in an appeal by the taxpayer is pending for adjudication before the Commissioner Appeals, he has to pay 20% of the total demand and wait for the appeal in order at the Commissioner Appeals office. Sir, that taxpayer has to pay the balance 80% demand afterwards after the Commissioner Appeals give an order. Sir, now, but still go on further appeals to the Income Tax Tribunal, that is ITAT, to seek the relief. Sir, in the order of Commissioner Appeals, gives full relief to the taxpayer, the 20% demand amount paid back with interest by the department. Sir, in the normal course, the taxpayer is required to pay only 20% of the total demand of the first appellate stage, wait for the appellate order. But bill induces him to come forward to pay 100% tax. That is the basic flaw in the bill. That is what I sincerely feel. Sir, with a promised waiver of the accompanying interest and penalty, which is not fair on the part of the taxpayer. So I say, a better proposition would be 50% of the tax portion with a promised waiver of the accompanying interest and penalty. Another point is that there is at least 50% success rate in winning an appeal by the taxpayer in the first appellate stage. In the normal event of his case, failing in the first stage, he can approach ITAT, High Court, Supreme Court. These are all the provisions available to him. Hence, forcing the taxpayer to pay 100% under the scheme is a premature exercise. Sir, in the second dispute, scenario 2, I just wanted to make it a point, a very peculiar situation to the taxpayer, because in simple terms, there is no dispute in this scenario as per the doctrine of jurisprudence. Sir, the situation basically arises when the assessing officer passes the assessment order determining certain amount of tax and interest payable, on which the taxpayer has gone on appeal before the Commissioner of Appeals and won the case here also. So as per the existing norms, the department has to refund back the 20% which the taxpayer has paid. Instead, as per the bill, sir, the taxpayer is now dragged into a truce when there is no battle at all in the first place. The department may have every right to file an appeal against the favorable order to the taxpayer passed by the Commissioner of Appeals. But there is no presumption here that the ITAT, that is Income Tax Appellate Tribunal, may reverse the judgment passed by the Commissioner of Appeals, which is highly premature and forcing the taxpayer to surrender in advance. Sir, here again, since the assessing officer passes the order, giving effect to the order of the appellate authority, within 30 days of the appellate order, once the register of the assessing officer, so where is the question of inducing the taxpayer to pay 50% of the tax demand and seek amnesty when such tax itself has vanished from the register of the assessing officer?
Thank you.
So that is why, and there are possibilities of misusing of this opportunity also, make their black money into white money. That is another option in this. So I request the Honorable Minister to answer my questions and seek a better option to the taxpayers and legally that they can pay the taxes.
Ramesh Gupta ji.
And I fully agree with Rajiv Gowda ji that because there are two objectives which has been given in the memorandum of the, that is first is to reduce the litigation, second is to generate the timely revenue. Because I agree this first primary objective to generate the revenue and to address the sinking economy and the fiscal deficit. This is what he has said and I agree fully. And second, what our friend Kareem has said, that because this is a benefit which we are giving to the dishonest tax evaders against the honest payer. This is fact. This is a fact of the life. Although in the original bill, after that I wrote a letter to the Honorable Finance Minister and pointing out certain infirmities in that. Out of the 5 I pointed out, 4 has been accepted as per the revised one. And the other, what I'll say. As my friend Ashwini ji has said that we should use the word V2V. And one thing is pointed out, because the expenditure is increasing and we have the lowest rate of tax in comparison to other parts of the world. That's why this scheme we have come to address this issue. But what will happen in the succeeding years? This year we can address this issue through this process of the physical decision. But what will happen the next? Because our tax rates are, as he has said, are lowest in comparison to the other. That is the issue. Sir, I would like to read one part of this, this statement of the objects and the regions. This says that this will able to deploy the time, energy and resources saved by the opting for such dispute resolution towards their business activities. Sir, this is the benefit, this is the to reduce that, but what will happen in case of such cases? Now, after my letter, this has been restricted. The benefit is given to the such cases also, but not above 5 crores of rupees. Why not the other? Because otherwise, why they will continue to deploy time, energy, and resources for this litigation. So this is my suggestion that we should open to give this scheme should be applicable to all such cases, irrespective of the amount 5 crores and above that. That is the one thing.
So thank you.
And I will invite the attention of the Honorable Finance Minister to Section 6 of the scheme. I would like to read for the benefit of the House. Subject to the provisions of Section 5, the designated authority shall not institute any proceeding in respect of an offence or impose or levy of any penalty or charge an interest under the Income Tax Act in respect of the tax arrears. Because this only immunity, otherwise, because as per the provision of the income tax, who can initiate the proceeding for penalty, interest or prosecution? That is the Income Tax Authority, not the designated authority. And designated authority defined here under Section 2, that it includes on the principal commissioner. But as far as the the power to initiate the penalty proceeding, prosecution, interest, etc., that lies with the number of income tax officers. That officers means income tax assessing officer, appellate authority, ITAT, even High Court, all they are. So what I will suggest, otherwise the immunity will not be given if we don't here this designated authority, either we should replace with the income tax authority, or we should say that subject to the provision of section 5.
पूरा करिए।
With this is I support the bill. Thank you.
धन्यवाद।
आप बने रहिए हमारे साथ। मिलते हैं एक छोटे से ब्रेक के बाद। जारी है प्रत्यक्ष कर विवाद से विश्वास विधेयक 2020 पर संसद संवाद।
होम क्वारंटाइन यानी घर में एकांतवास की अवधि 14 दिन की है। इस अवधि के दौरान होम क्वारंटाइन में रहने वाले व्यक्ति को हवादार कमरे में रहना चाहिए और ऐसे टॉयलेट का प्रयोग करना चाहिए जिसे कोई दूसरा इस्तेमाल ना करे। यदि अलग कमरे और अलग टॉयलेट की व्यवस्था ना हो और प्रभावित व्यक्ति को परिवार के साथ एक ही कमरे में रहना हो तो परिवार के अन्य सदस्यों को उसके साथ कम से कम 1 मीटर की दूरी बनाकर रखनी चाहिए। होम क्वारंटाइन करने वाले व्यक्ति को बुजुर्गों, गर्भवती महिलाओं और बच्चों से दूर रहना चाहिए। उसे अपने कमरे से बाहर नहीं निकलना चाहिए। इस 14 दिन की अवधि के दौरान प्रभावित व्यक्ति को किसी भी स्थिति में किसी सामाजिक गतिविधि या पारिवारिक समारोह में शामिल नहीं होना चाहिए। होम क्वारंटाइन के दौरान व्यक्ति को साबुन से अपने हाथ बार बार धोने चाहिए या अल्कोहल बेस्ड हैंड सैनिटाइजर का प्रयोग बार बार करना चाहिए। होम क्वारंटाइन के दौरान प्रभावित व्यक्ति के द्वारा प्रयोग किया जा रहा घरेलू सामान जैसे कि गिलास, कप, कटोरी, तौलिया, बेडशीट, साबुन आदि को परिवार के अन्य सदस्यों के साथ शेयर नहीं करना चाहिए। प्रभावित व्यक्ति को हर समय सर्जिकल डिस्पोजेबल मास्क लगाए रखना चाहिए। होम क्वारंटाइन के दौरान यदि प्रभावित व्यक्ति में खांसी, बुखार या सांस लेने में कठिनाई जैसे लक्षण दिखाई दें तो तुरंत निकट के स्वास्थ्य केंद्र में जाएं या फिर हेल्पलाइन नंबर 01123978046 पर संपर्क करें। परिवार के अन्य सदस्यों को होम क्वारंटाइन में रह रहे व्यक्ति के साथ सीधे संपर्क से बचना चाहिए और हमेशा ग्लव्स पहनकर ही प्रभावित व्यक्ति के सामान को छूना चाहिए।
हाथों को बार बार साबुन या अल्कोहल आधारित सैनिटाइजर से धोएं। छींक और खांसते समय अपना मुंह और नाक टिश्यू या रुमाल से ढकें। प्रयोग के बाद टिश्यू को किसी बंद डब्बे में फेंक दें। बुखार, खांसी, सांस लेने में तकलीफ होने पर डॉक्टर से तुरंत संपर्क करें। डॉक्टर से मिलने के दौरान अपना नाक और मुंह मास्क या कपड़े से ढकें। भीड़-भाड़ वाली जगहों में जाने से बचें और बुखार, खांसी, सांस लेने में तकलीफ होने पर दूसरों के संपर्क में न आएं। ये भी ख्याल रखें कि अपनी आंख, नाक या मुंह को ना छुएं और सार्वजनिक स्थानों पर ना थूकें।
$9 लाख करोड़ रुपए से ज्यादा प्रत्यक्ष कर के विवादों के आसान निपटारे के लिए प्रत्यक्ष कर विवाद से विश्वास विधेयक 2020 पर राज्यसभा में गहन चर्चा हुई। सदस्यों ने विधेयक पर खुलकर अपने विचार रखे। आइए देखते हैं सदन में विधेयक पर हुई अहम चर्चा का सारांश।
माननीय मंत्री जी।
धन्यवाद जी। Sir, I first of all would like to thank all the leaders belonging to the various parties. I take them with their names with due respects. Shri Ghulam Nabi Azad ji, Tiruchi Shivaji, Satish Mishra ji, Professor Yadav, Derek O'Brien, Namanita Krishnan ji. Each one of them I'd like to thank because they have very readily come to cooperate and also as was reminded by Derek, on a Friday, agreed to take into consideration this bill, understanding the importance of the bill itself. And therefore, let me start by specifically thanking each one of them for having been very cooperative in sitting through this consideration. So primarily, before I start, there were 12 members of Parliament who spoke in detail about the bill. I thank each one of them. They have raised certain very issues which are critical to the implementation of this scheme itself, and I shall answer some of the questions, provide the clarification also. In a very brief manner, considering that I have not been asked to speak elaborately. So I have regrouped the issues that have been raised by members into broad 12 categories. I'll quickly go through each one of them in such a way that it answers several members. First was this important issue, whether because we went on issuing a lot of clarifications based on what was presented and tabled in the Lok Sabha, FAQs, so that people will get to know what is actually in this scheme as an explanatory. Reference was made to Circular number 7 of 2020, wherein the FAQs have been elaborated. Question was raised, was it not a breach of privilege? I would like to just read one line from that FAQ, Circular number 7, 2020, that even as we elaborated on all these, I'm quoting, sir, the line that has been mentioned even before the FAQs have been explained. These clarifications, I quote, these clarifications are, however, subject to approval and passing of the bill, Vivad Se Vishwas, by the Parliament and receiving the assent of the Honourable President of India. That's been stated up front much before the details have been given, and therefore I want to assure the members that there is no breach of privilege. We've only tried explaining things to the people, and that is clearly stated up front as a disclaimer. Second is, sir, issues about setting targets. Have you brought pressure on the heads of the tax assessees? Have you brought pressure on the tax authorities themselves so that if their ACRs are going to be linked with the performance and so on? Sir, first of all, it is the outreach program which is going on, saying what is the scheme about and why should they encourage the assessees to come on board. So it is for the target which has been set more for the outreach activity rather than say make every assessee come into the scheme. So let that be very clear, sir. Of course, we want our officials to be taking every scheme of the government seriously, but not to the point of compelling anyone to come into the scheme. Third, sir, is the issue of, is there no end date given? Has it got too short a time? Is it too quick to be implemented? When will you close it? Is there any statement there? So I would want to assure that the date given 31st March is for payment without any kind of penalty or additional charge or anything of that kind, with additional 10% between 31st March to June 30th, with additional 10% payment over the given formula of the scheme, people can join in. However, the bill, what is important here, is the bill authorizes the government to notify the end date. So depending on how this whole thing is going, based on the suggestions coming from the tax assessees themselves, the notification will be issued subsequently. So then the question of, there is a confusion. Are there two dates? 31st March, Honourable Member Navneeta Krishnanji asked us this question. Are there two dates? 31st March is one, 30th June is one. What is it? As I explained, sir, to enter into the scheme and pay the money as per the formula given there, 31st March is the date given, for which, of course, the FAQs have been on public domain for a very long time now, since after we tabled it in Lok Sabha. But then, with a certain amount of penalty, which is 10% additional charge till 30th. So the date 31st has without any kind of additional payment, and beyond 31st till 30th June with 10% to be paid as an increased charge. That is where two dates have appeared. There are no confusion about it, but eventually the end of the scheme date will be notified by the government, and for which this bill has empowered the government to carry on with that. So then the other question which was raised is the wealth tax also included in this, meaning are taxes laid on the wealth of people also included in it. So this is a scheme which is being brought in for the Income Tax Act. So only those disputes which pertain or come under the Income Tax Act will be taken up, not those which are coming under wealth tax. So I want to just draw the attention of honourable member who raised that. Now, also very important, a question which was raised was, all right, you're giving us the scheme, this is because there have been disputes. But why at all the disputes? Are you doing anything to reduce the root cause of litigation and so on? So I want to assure members that reducing the discretion which is in the hands of the tax authorities and who also have high-pitched assessments for any assessee, and then also further pursuing it and so on, all this is now coming to to a zero because the government has now used technology and we are bringing in faceless assessment. Not just faceless assessment, but also appeals will now become faceless. So through the email, through questions which are asked, through a group of people who will be understanding the faceless assessment scheme and who will be guiding them, this will happen. And therefore, the question, very pertinent question asked, that the litigation's root cause should be addressed. The government is definitely taking all steps towards addressing the litigation, reduction of litigation being a priority. So then the next one is about, are you going to allow cases which are already under prosecution? I just want to highlight the fact that under prosecution cases, sir, if the prosecution is based on Income Tax Act, and therefore the tax authorities have taken you for a prosecution, of course you will be excluded. But if you have prosecution under various other acts, you are welcome to join the scheme. So the exclusion is only for those prosecutions which are taken under this Income Tax Act by the tax authorities. So before I come to this issue which Member Tiruchi Shiva has raised, I'll move over to the question which was raised by Member Amar Patnaik about the transfer pricing related matter. The secondary adjustment to the provision only applies for assessment year 2017-18 and subsequent years. It does not apply to earlier years to which most of the transfer pricing cases pertain. So that specific clarification for the question related to transfer pricing, sir. The one very repeatedly raised issue was about why only cases which are below 5 crores and not those which are above 5 crores are being included. Sir, I want to make it clear here that these cases have been excluded. Those above 5 crores have been excluded so that large evasion-related cases and fraud cases do not come into the scheme and take advantage of this scheme. That is why we've limited it to the topmost extent of 5 crores and not beyond. So we do not want disputes which involve larger sums to take advantage of the scheme much before we can even establish what is behind those kind of disputes. So the last 2 points which I would like to highlight, just so that my Parliamentary Affairs Minister is not worried if I'm taking too much time, is the issue of, is this going to provide amnesty to those who are covered under the demonetization related cases? Honourable Member Wilson raised that question. So this, first of all, this scheme is not an amnesty scheme at all. But it is the taxpayer has to pay a certain tax amount, and that tax amount, the undisclosed cash deposit during demonetization, is liable to be suffering a tax of 75%. Hence, the taxpayer has to pay 75%, the demonetization-related people. The taxpayer has to pay 75% of tax for settling the dispute regarding the cash deposits which have been made during the period of demonetization. So it's not an amnesty for anybody.
प्रत्यक्ष कर विवाद से विश्वास विधेयक 2020 राज्यसभा में पारित हो गया। सदस्यों की जिज्ञासाओं का समाधान करते हुए वित्त मंत्री निर्मला सीतारमण ने कहा कि करदाताओं को प्रत्यक्ष कर विवाद निपटान के सभी विकल्प उपलब्ध कराने के लिए उनकी सरकार प्रतिबद्ध है। सरकार विवाद से विश्वास की तरफ बढ़ने और मुकदमेबाजी को कम करने के उद्देश्य से ये विधेयक लेकर आई। अगले अंक में